Hi, this is János, this is Real World Audio, and I like to have a look at a question, and this is about driver choice. So right now I'm going to have a look at a particular driver choice, but this is going to be a little bit more than that, and I'm going to give the perspective, that what is the perspective when you choose a very expensive driver compared to a mid-priced driver and compared to a very cheap driver. And let's get into it. So Mr. Taff asked this question. Previously you recommended the Cube Audio Fc8 drivers. It looks like they retail about $2,000 per pair. Parts Express sells a similar 8-inch driver for about $600 per pair. It's a big difference in price, but is it a significant difference in sound? And this depends actually a lot. So if we are just looking at just the driver choice, is that $600 driver versus this $2,000 driver is going to give a big enough difference in sound? That will totally depend on you and your system, how you have put together the system. If the system allows that difference to show, and the difference is not in the price but in the execution of the driver, what the driver can do. And the Fc8 driver can do a lot more. The Cube Audio Fc8 can do a lot more than drivers in the $600 category from Parts Express, something like a Mark Audio driver or a Fostex driver in that price range. I'm not saying they are bad drivers, they are really good drivers, but the Fc8 is a very different league in comparison to that. To make it more easier to imagine what these Cube Audio drivers are like, is to think about the Lowther drivers. So those of you who played around with single drivers, you know that the Lowthers, they are essentially like a category apart from the rest of the single driver universe. And I'm not talking about, there are also exotic drivers as well. So maybe some of you will comment a couple brand names which are in that league where Lowther drivers are, and they will be at similar prices as the Lowther units are. So I'm not saying that the Lowther is exclusive in that category, but that is a category that's very much set apart from these drivers which are in that $600 or $500 per pair category. And as I said before, it doesn't mean that the $500, $600 per pair drivers are bad or anything like that. Just that the Lowther drivers, when you listen to a loudspeaker that has a Lowther driver instead of, let's say, a pair of Mark Audio, you will notice that it has like almost, if your system allows, if your system has the resolving power, then it will be a magnitude or 2 magnitudes more resolving, a lot more clarity, a lot more speed. So, and it will come in buckets and spades, and it's not about like, can a few people with incredible hearing hear this tiny difference? No, it's a landslide difference. However, with the Lowthers, there come a lot of problems as well. It's like opening a can of surprises, and that kind of surprises includes a discrepancy between the sensitivity in the high frequencies and the low frequencies. and so there's an imbalance with that. And some speaker designs have a better chance of fixing that or making it not as extreme, but it's a challenge. And if you don't want to look into that challenge, or you want a better solution, then basically the Cube Audio drivers are the Lowther drivers without that massive frequency imbalance. So what they did is essentially taking the single driver approach, which was pioneered by Lowther. So actually it was Paul Voigt himself, who was also the creator of the Voigt pipes. He was also the creator of the single driver idea. So the genre of single drivers that we have today, these high efficiency drivers reproducing the entire bandwidth available by the loudspeaker, that and the magnet structure, magnet type, everything was pioneered by Paul Voigt and Peter Lowther. Peter Lowther, basically he provided anyway, I don't want to go into history right now, but Lowther was the archetypal single driver, and everything else like Mark Audio, Fostex, etc., they are copying Lowther. And so what Cube Audio is doing is they are also doing their take on the single driver approach, and what they did is that they decreased the potential efficiency of the driver, so it's not as efficient at the very high frequencies, but that trade-off comes in buckets and spades because it leveled up in the bass response. So its bass response and the evenness of how it can handle the frequency is just in a completely different league and universe compared to every single driver that I tried out. So it's like a very, very different level. And like those drivers that you can get at Parts Express in that price range are really good, fantastic, but you will always notice that when you have a multi-driver loudspeaker, like a two-way or three-way, add a subwoofer, it's going to be a much more full range experience compared to your single driver speaker with the driver. And when you take the Fc8, when I took the Fc8 and built my put it in my Voigt pipe, what I noticed is that to my ears it just shames a comparable 8-inch driver plus subwoofer system, and it just has a much better quality bass extending down to the 20 hertz range, depending on the room. In my upstairs room 25 hertz approximately, and downstairs in my living room 20 hertz easily. It just produces phenomenal 20 hertz. And that's the thing. One thing is that it is just capable of such a wide band delivery, and it delivers this wide band at a much higher sound pressure levels. And I know lots of people don't want to listen to very loud music, but the reality with 20 hertz, 25 hertz, everything, like even 30 hertz, is that they need to be extremely loud to create an impact on your hearing, in the effect of the sound, and they need to be produced at a very high level, which means it's pushing the driver's ability, especially single drivers. And with the Cube Audio drivers you can do that with an order or two orders of magnitude less punishment than any other driver you can find at this price range. So basically with this price range, what we are paying for partially for these drivers is the ability to not use a subwoofer. and give you access to those kinds of frequencies. And that's something that people who just use these drivers, they say that it is impossible to do with a single driver speaker to have that kind of bass. That's why these are limited. Exception are these drivers, because with these they also have the ability to produce bass that I never thought a single driver would be capable of handling. And I've been living with and building single driver speakers for almost like 25 years now. So I think yes, there is, but it does more than just the ability to extend more in the bass. I think they are just astonishingly good drivers, which doesn't tell much, I know. But what I can tell you is that when your system allows you to supply more details, more feelings, more parts of the sound, they can take you to a much higher level than the $600 per pair drivers. And if your system is such that the $600 drivers can get the maximum out of it, then these drivers, the Cube Audio drivers, will be wasted on your system. However, if your system can go beyond that, then it will be just probably the best investment you can do. But it is something that you have to figure out for yourself. Is my system capable of doing more? Are those Fostex or Mark Audio drivers limiting my system, or is my amplifier limiting my system? So that's why there's no yes or no simple answers and things that we have to figure out. But after a while, when you try out things and gain experience, you will be able to tell whether the amplifier is your limitation or your drivers are your limitation. And before anyone wants to go into that, if you are just new to DIY and just especially you are about to build your first single driver speakers, in that case I would recommend for everyone just go for this choice, go for the cheaper choice, or even like Jimmy Dean's advice, just go for a cheap driver, like a really cheap, like maybe $100 per pair driver, and put it in that cabinet, try it out. Is the sound, the character, something that is that resonates with you? And then if not, then try out a different cabinet with that driver. Is that, and figure out which cabinet type is the one that's going to give you what you want. And when you have done that, then start escalating and going for more expensive drivers to get more and more or to unfold the experience more and more. But in the beginning, my advice is just to it's going to be in a different video, because it's more than just a second, and if I just say it now, it will be lost in the thread of videos, and I want it to have its own title, so when people look for it and ask me to, János, point me to that video, I will be able to tell them just, okay, this is the title, search for the words and you will find it. So thank you, Mr. Teff, for your questions, and I hope that I helped answering it. So thank you, and everyone have a wonderful day. Bye bye.